Well, continue on with Higurashi. I have my drink somewhere, so grab it real quick. Lean back. Good morning. Nice job yesterday, K-chan. You didn't do so badly yourself, Mion. Yesterday was fun. Oh, that's right, Cage-kun. Thank you very much. Hey, Blaz. For Mr. Bear. I'm glad you like it. Don't use it as a pincushion, though. I wouldn't. Still chatting happily, we entered the classroom, but the moment I stepped into the room, a splashing sound and a nasty sensation. It was a bucket filled to the brim with water. And unfortunately, my foot stepped right into it. My now, how diligent of you to mop the floor this morning. Thump, 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 flip, whiff. Blah! Cage-san flicked my forehead. You should set a more brutal trap next time. Seeing that, Rana began to swoon as Mion looked on dejectedly. Everything was the same as always. Everybody was there and nothing felt out of place. The uncertainties I had had in the back of my mind since yesterday had vanished. What is it, Cage-kun? Didn't get enough sleep, maybe? Maybe? I slept like a log, but if you want, I'll do a reenactment during class. You shouldn't do that. Mion alerted us that the teacher was coming, so everyone shuffled off to their seats. Good morning, everyone. So yesterday was the festival. Thank you to all the people who stayed until the very end to help clean up. We were all slackers, so none of us actually helped clean up. Actually, I had a feeling that the only thing we did was run around the festival and cause a ruckus. Okay then, this time of year you might see more people here from out of town doing interviews about the festival for magazines. I thought it was the usual stuff, so I was going to tune it out. But then I noticed the different tone in her voice and started paying attention. You may be asked questions. Please don't say anything silly or something that could be taken the wrong way. Do you understand? In unison, everyone replied, Yes, ma'am. What she had said was really vague, but I understood what she was trying to say. After all, this was the 5th year. There were probably lots of third-rate reporters pouring in, hoping something regarding the curse had happened. It did nothing but perpetuate the village's bad image. She was saying, don't spout stupid shit you think is funny. And now I was one of ones who needed to keep their mouths shut. I found it rather cute how I felt a sense of unity from such a trite thing, if I do say so myself. I was summoned to club activities after school. Since everybody was still pretty tired from yesterday, we just spent the day relaxing. Yeah, that wasn't happening. Today, let's play a classic game of deduction. Sus. Hey, Blaz, have you seen the old art for this? Oh. How about this one? Oh, a game from overseas. Looks interesting. The instructions are in English, but the rules don't seem that hard. I won't lose, you hear? I'm not too bad at this game. It seemed that Rena didn't handle this kind of game very well. The rules are, the person who can match the murderer, weapon, and the scene of the crime wins. Ooh. There are 3 kinds of cards comprised of suspects, weapons, and locations. I could see that the names Mion and Rika were written on the suspect cards. Oh, a card with my name on it as well. There are plenty of different weapons too, like knives, axes, and poison. The locations are pretty nice too, like the living room, the study, and the courtyard. So basically, you take out one of each of the cards. These are the answer cards. So we shuffle the remaining cards and hand them out. We ask each other about the cards and figure out the right ones. Ah, I see. So the cards nobody has are the true perpetrators. Then you raise your hand if you know the answer. The game ends and we check if the answer is correct. If you're right, then you get a point. If you're wrong, then you lose a point. Since the game ends, even if no one gets it right, all the cards are gathered up and redistributed. You'll learn as you go. You really have to use your brain. You'll get confused if you don't take notes. The rest you can figure out by playing. So, Mion. What's the penalty this time? Everyone directed their attention to Mion. Let's see. We're all still a little tired from yesterday, so maybe we'll take it easy with a gopher penalty. You'll be asked to rush out and buy stuff for everyone. So just being asked to go buy stuff like drinks and candy, I guess. I feel like the penalty today is pretty simple. I wonder, is it really? Is Keiichi-san thinking what I'm thinking? Yeah. You don't know what you'll have to go buy. I'm betting Mion would send out whoever loses to buy stuff like hemorrhoid cream, or a happy family planning manual, or other crazy stuff. The cards were lightly shuffled and passed out to each player. The real perpetrator, the correct weapon, and the scene of the murder have been taken out. So that means all the cards I have in my hand are innocent cards. Then, I'll go first since I'm the club president. I guess. Well then, Mion, knife, study. You pick one suspect, weapon, and murder scene and ask each person. If you have any of those cards, you must say, I have one. However, you don't need to say which one you have. Yeah, I got it. Me too. I have one. Oh my, all of them are here. 3 people answered when she asked if they had Mion, knife, and study. So that means Mion and knife and study are all in the clear. Got to jot that down. Then I'll go. Rena, axe, lounge. Why would they choose an axe for her? Only 2 people said they have one. Sorry. So it means out of Rena, axe, and lounge, one of them is correct and is part of the crime? No, it could mean one person has 2 of them. Yeah, there it is. No wait, even if they say they have 1, they don't have to say how many. It's possible that either Satoko or Rika-chan has 2 of the cards. Well, Kei-chan is next. Go ahead. Wait just a little. I'm still sorting things out. The game has me thinking more than I thought. Oh man, this feels like it's going to be tough. Alright, now I have the criminal. What? Already? Harem spinning around in circles, Mion just now raises her hand. The murderer is Rika-chan, in the infirmary, with the poison. Well? Mion drew the cards from the box and we checked to see if her deduction was right. You were right. All I needed was one more hand. And I couldn't tell whether it was a poison or a pistol. I'd never use a pistol. I like killing them slowly with poison. Rika-chan said such a hugely terrifying thing with such a sweet little face. Everyone was making a commotion about how they almost had it. Ren and I were left out in the cold, though. How did you do, Keiichi-kun? I couldn't get it at all. Don't worry. I had no idea either. How can you both be so unsure? You'll both end up in last place together at this rate. That's even worse. Going off buying something together as a couple. What if we ended up having to buy the Happy Family Planning Guide? I can tell from Keiichi's expression that he's not very good at this game. What? That's not true. I'll show you the true power of Sherlock Mybar during the next round. My, that sounds just wonderful. I shall give you quite the thrashing. After that, I managed to somewhat grasp the trick behind the game, but I was still always a step or two behind. I saw that Mion was somehow gleaning information from how the others were asking their questions. That level of experience was just too much. The only way I could stage a comeback was if I became ruthless. I tossed out the simple concept of deduction and switched over to the thought process needed to win. The important thing isn't to find out the criminal, it's to win at the game. Eureka! Ah, sorry, need to go to the bathroom. Take your time and squeeze out a nice one. Michan, that's gross. I had them hold off the game and headed down the hall. The air was crisp. It showed just how stagnant the air in the classroom was from our body heat. On the school ground, some of our classmates were still playing around. After spending some time cooling my head, Rena had made her way out over towards me. Keiichi-kun, did you call for me? Yeah, I did. As I got up from my seat, I winked over at Rena. I'm glad it worked out. I don't want to waste much time, so I'll get right to the point. Rena, what's your record at this game we're playing today? She was taken aback. After a moment, she hesitantly opened her mouth. Well, all losses. Why do you ask, I wonder? I could tell from how apprehensively she was playing. The way things are going, I will as well. I can't figure out a way to pull off a last-minute comeback on this one. So I guess both of us will be taking that penalty? Hey, don't accept defeat already. How about we win this? Both of us. But how can we? I brought my lips up to Rena's ear. Whisper, 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 whisper. Huh? Is that allowed? Did you forget, Rena? The second rule of our society. Do everything in your power to obtain victory. Yeah, I'll try my best. Our plan of attack was quite a rudimentary one. At the beginning of the game, everyone would be focused on their own hand for a while, taking notes and whatnot. Since our seats were right next to each other, we'd reveal our hands to each other. If we did it under the desk, then nobody would know. We'd begin the game with twice as much information as everyone else. Having this much information would mean we'd need to investigate less. With this sort of plan of attack, we start off with a big lead over the other guys. Yeah, with this we can probably win. We both smirked at each other. If I was the shady businessman, then Rena was the corrupt senator. Pleasure doing business with ya. Then, let's hurry back. We'll work as a duo to surprise everyone. Hey now, there's no point if we go back together. We'll be like flat out telling them we made a little arrangement. Oh, sorry, then what should we do? Go back ahead of me, Rena. I'll take my time coming back after washing my face or something. Okay, got it. Rena turned around and headed back to the classroom. I guess I should wait a bit longer before going back. If I went too soon, it wouldn't seem like I went to the bathroom. If Mion or one of them suspected something, then there could be problems. Just a moment. And we're back. Well, they'd figure out sooner or later, because both Rena and I would start winning over and over again. Both Rena and I will have earned enough points to avoid being the losers by the time Mion realized what was happening. Excellent. Not bad at all. My Barakun. May I have a moment? Huh? It's the teacher. Man, things were just getting good. What is it, I'm a bit? You have a guest. Please make your way to the entrance. A guest? It's not like I own a hotel. They have been waiting. Please hurry. It was rather unfortunate that I'd have someone waiting on me right before my big match, but I was more interested in the unexpected guest. I didn't want to waste any time, so I decided to take care of it quickly. The entryway was a heavy contrast from the hot and sunlight and deep shadows. Waiting there, looking uncomfortably warm, was a middle-aged man, his tie sloppily loosened, and his jacket tucked underneath his arm. Now we gotta see the old mom. The pants. How do you even hide? Oh, you have to go into the menu to do it regularly. Are you Maibara-san? Keiichi Maibara-san? There was no question that he wasn't a resident of Hinamizawa, and that this was without a doubt the first time he had met me. Ever since I met Tomitake-san, I've been running into so many middle-aged men. That's right. Who might you be? I have the AC on in my car. Let's talk there. It's a bit hot here, don't you think? The man, completely ignoring my question, pointed over to his car parked near the gate, and began walking. You've got to be kidding me. I had no intention of going along with some geezer I didn't even know, and he was asking me to get in his car with him? Stranger danger. I'm not going to bite. Come on now. He opened the back door of his car and called me over. I didn't like this old man, but I wanted to know what this was about. Even while knowing that conversations that start out like this have never led to anything good. Well, they actually have an inside of the car art. The inside of his car was pretty cool. Cars with air conditioners were supposed to be a luxury. My dad didn't have one in his car, at least. Please let me know if it's too cold for you, okay? I have a habit of cranking it all the way up. So what business do you have with me? Out of spite, I decided to ignore his remark in the same way he did to me and start my own line of questioning. He pulled out a notepad from his pocket and took out a picture that was stuck between the pages. On it was the face of a pretty goofy-looking guy. If you know anything related to this individual, then please tell me. Who the heck is this? I doubt even his close friends would be able to recognize who he was from the expressionless picture that looked like it was taken at the DMV. There were scribbles on his shirt done in permanent marker. Starting with yours, Maibara-san, and quite a few of your classmates signed as well. Huh? This is Tomitake-san? There was no hint of his usual unreliable and easygoing personality in this photo. It was an expressionless, half-asleep face. Then, do you know this woman? Even before seeing it, I had a good idea of who it was. I don't remember her name, but she's some lady who was with Tomitake-san last night. I didn't know what her name was, but I did know she was a resident of Hinamizawa. When was the last time you saw these two? The night of the Watanagashi. We spoke. They seemed pretty close, I guess. Did anything bother you about them? Anything is fine. Go ahead and say it. Being asked for every little detail is very troubling, honestly. I had a pretty good idea of who this guy was by now. Did something happen to them? There was no response to my inquiry. Oh, that was weird. Thus I replied to that silence in kind. I was pretty sure, no, certain that this guy was a cop. Then why? Why was he asking about Tomitake-san? Did something happen to him? More importantly, why me? Shouldn't there have been plenty of other people who knew more about him than I did? The roar of the air conditioner felt unbearably loud. After a long pause, he finally spoke again. You've moved here just recently, isn't that right, Maibara-san? Are you aware, I wonder, about the stories of Oyashiro-san? My heart began to race. I'm pretty terrible at hiding things. It probably showed on my face. Not at all? If you don't, then that's fine. Well, I have heard of it. Tomitake-san told me, actually. How much do you know about it? The dismemberment killing, the accidental death, the death by illness followed by suicide, and the lady who was beaten to death. The incidents that always happened the day of the Watanagashi, ending in suspicious deaths. I didn't think Tomitake-san would have kept anything from me. I think that was everything. No, rather, I didn't want to think there was anything more than that. Do you know of that, well, curse, Maibara-san? Feel free to speak openly about it. I don't believe in it. My answer was instant. It wasn't so much that I didn't believe in it as I was on the verge of believing. I wanted to clear away my own doubts. That was the more prominent feeling. Really? Then that's great. Guess you really are one of those city-raised boys. So what if I don't believe? I have friends waiting, so could you get to the point? The man in this picture is dead. My mind went blank. Huh? What happened to Tomitake-san? It would seem that he died last night. That was the night of the Watanagashi. Do you understand the implications behind that, Maibara-san? Implications? Not any yet. Because of the implications. Not any for the cause of his death or the reasons behind it. The real problem was that he died on the day of the Watanagashi. Meaning this year. The curse of Oyashiro-sama had once again. The death of Jiro Tomitake is still confidential. You can understand why that is, right? I didn't want to understand why. Please tell me. Tell me what happened. It was rather peculiar. It might be a little too graphic for someone born and raised in Hinamizo. It was a roundabout way of saying it, but it caused me to doubt whether or not I wanted to hear the rest. I would only regret forcing myself to learn of something I shouldn't. Or at least, that's how I figured I would feel if I listened to the rest. One of our patrol cars discovered the body on the way back from security detail at the festival. It was late, about 5 till midnight. The location was, where the road into town becomes paved, right? Down past the slope, on the shoulder around there. There were few streetlights on that road. Its pitch blackness was only broken by the lights of passing cars and the moon. Moon. It was a stroke of luck that Tomitake-san was spotted collapsed on the shoulder of the road. Tomitake-san was face down, covered in blood. Blood and muck covered the asphalt. We thought it was a hit and run at first, but when the officer checked to see if he was still alive, he quickly noticed something abnormal. His throat had been ripped open. From a knife or something? No. Nails. Nails? As in fingernails? With those, he clawed through? From the coroner's report, it was revealed that it was with his own nails. Huh? What? What does that mean? Basically, it means it wasn't a murder. It was suicide. Tomitake-san thought there was a reason to tear open his own throat, as hard as he could with his own nails. Tore through the skin until he started to bleed, and even then Tomitake-san didn't stop. He continued clawing, with enough intensity that it could have peeled off his nails. Still clawing. Still clawing. Then, as his nails reached those vital arteries that he should never damage, he continued clawing. Splat! Blood splattered on the ground around him. As he bled, while gasping for breath, he collapsed. His body spasmed, and he died in agony. We thought drugs were to blame, but nothing of that nature was detected. But this was a suicide? I've never heard of such a thing. This unnatural way of dying. If this wasn't a mysterious death, then what was? Gotta get a sip of water real quick. Sound cut out for a second there. That was weird. The way he died, in these 5 years, his death most resembled that of a curse. As if to show both myself and Tomitaki-san, who proclaimed there was no such thing as a curse, that we were wrong. There were a few more suspicious details. From his body chemistry, perspiration, epilation, and so on, we concluded that he was in a state of hysteria right before his death. That was a given. It's hard to believe someone could be in a sound state of mind while clawing out their throat. Wounds on his hands matched a discarded piece of lumber found nearby. There are traces of where he struck trees and guardrails within. And the guardrails within? Tomitaki-san's blood was found all over the place, meaning that while tearing at his own throat, he was swinging around a piece of lumber. Oh, okay, that makes more sense. There were external injuries which were not self-inflicted discovered on Tomitaki-san. There's a high probability Tomitaki-san was assaulted. The external injuries suggest there may be multiple suspects. To summarize, Tomitaki-san was surrounded and attacked. While wandering the night roads in a state of panic, after being cornered, he picked up a piece of lumber and tried fighting back. Somewhere in there, he began madly tearing at his own throat, clawing at it. Then, he died. The presumed time of death was around 9:23 p.m., meaning it occurred right after you finished talking to Tomitaki-san at the festival. Everyone signed Tomitaki-san's shirt, then parted ways. Right after that, oh yeah, he should have been with a woman. What about her? She's missing. She hasn't shown up to work and she hasn't returned home either. There's a very high probability that she was involved in this incident. For a while, I could only gaze off into space. I never would have thought that something unfortunate happening to somebody close to me could affect me this deeply. The time I had spent with Tomitaki-san was so short. But we went to the same festival, spent time together, took part in the same competition. He was one of us. We have been continuing the investigation on various fronts, but when it comes to Oyashiro-sama's curse, the villagers here aren't very cooperative. That I knew well. I would have been none the wiser if not for Tomitaki-san, the outsider, telling me. So that's why you came to me? Because I'm not originally from Hinamizawa? I should have been angry that was the reason he wanted to hear what happened from me. If things go the way they have been, then the conclusion would be that Jiro Tomitake died from Oyashiro-sama's curse. He turned away from me and gazed far off into the distance. The night of the Watanagashi, during that sacred ritual, he callously snapped off photos, angering Oyashiro-sama. That's how it's going to turn out. There's no way Oyashiro-sama would inflict divine punishment on Tomitaki-san. Tomitaki-san had to have been killed by humans, and a cowardly group, no less. There's no way I'm going to let this end up being the fault of some curse. I think so as well. There's no such thing as divine punishment or curses. The tense mood was cut with a man's hearty laugh. That's how this must be, Maibara-san. Cooperation from individuals in Hinamizawa who don't believe in the curse is indispensable. Understand? Neither Tomitaki-san nor I believed in curses, but with the way things were going, it would just end up with Tomitaki-san's death marking the 5th year, which would mean that Hinamizawa had rejected Tomitaki-san. That was something I couldn't allow. Tomitaki-san was one of us. He didn't live in Hinamizawa, but he came every single year. In a sense, he was more of a resident than I was. There was no way that Tomitaki-san could have been cursed by Oyashiro-sama. But there's nothing I can do to help. I have no idea what happened that night either. No, if you see or hear something that draws your attention, then that is enough. If I see or hear, he was talking in the future tense. Things or people or rumors, anything is fine. I don't care if they're unfounded. Here, this is my number. If I'm not there, then just leave a message with whoever picks up. He handed me a piece of paper with his number on it, but I hesitated for a second. If I took it, then whether I wanted to or not, I'd be mired knee-deep in this matter. He's already pretty deep in, but... Please help me solve these questions surrounding Tomitake-san's unfortunate death. That's right. Why was I hesitating? I needed to find the murderer who killed my friend. I snatched up the piece of paper as a satisfied grin spread across his face. Everything we spoke of today is a secret. Please keep this confidential. Understood. From your friend as well. Especially from Sonozaki-san and Furude-san. Please do not inform them. Sonozaki? You mean Mion? Why? Are you saying they have something to do with the incident? With my friend's names brought up so abruptly, and being told to keep it a secret from them, I became rather angry. This is what they call investigative privilege, I suppose. Don't play games with me. Mion is a close friend of mine. I snapped at him, but he didn't seem to especially be offended. I wouldn't mind telling you, but it may just upset you. Say it. He hesitated a little. Turning his gaze to the outside of the car, he began to speak after thinking for a bit. There is a possibility that the string of incidents happening here in Hinamizawa are a result of a village conspiracy. There's no way that could be right. Give me a break. First of all, is there any proof of that? No evidence. Also, each of the cases were resolved, and none of the perpetrators had any direct connection to the village. Then how did you come to that conclusion? Every year, the enemies of the village die on the day of the Watanashi. Don't you think that's enough a reason to suspect something? Only the residents of Hinamizawa felt that the day of the Watanashi was sacred. So basically, because incidents happened on that day, it was somehow related to Hinamizawa? First, it was the damn construction foreman. Then it was a villager that supported it. Those the village hold a grudge against died one after the other from mysterious causes. The means are different, but in the end the result is the same. Unfounded, unreasonable suspicion. But it couldn't just be shrugged off. So the victims after that, what about the Shinto priest and his wife's death? They weren't enemies of the village. The villagers had expected leadership from the Shinto priest at the time of the dam dispute, but he wasn't proactive, so there was a faction of villagers who harbored ill will towards him as a result. Ill will? It's not like he did anything bad to the village. What about that housewife after that? Did she die just because she was the wife of the brother of a supporter? That's such a trivial reason to kill someone. And what about Tomitake-san? He's not affiliated with the dam project at all. Was he killed just because he was an outsider? In the beginning, it fell on those related to the dam project, but as the years went on, the enemy threshold of the victims had become much lower. Well, that's the scary part. The bar keeps getting lower. What's scary about that? It means it's not just enemies of the village anymore. Just being an outsider is reason enough. And next year's victim, they're just going to be picked out of the village outsider pool? It might be a person that just moved here. What do you mean by... I swallowed my words. Here in Hinamizawa, the ones who would be considered the most outside would be my family. I was proof enough of that, wasn't I? I still couldn't really remember the names of the people I passed by. Then, the next victims, my family. Was he saying it was going to be me? But what does that have to do with Mion? I can't go into details, but the Sonozaki family led the damn protests. Quite fervently so. This is also true of Mion Sonozaki herself. She has quite a few misdemeanor and obstruction of public worker offenses on her record because of the protests. I knew Mion knew what it meant to fight. This was the first I had heard of her family leading the protests, though. Then, well, what did it all mean? Are you saying that Mion's family is involved with this string of incidents? I wouldn't go that far. I'm just saying that if it was a conspiracy, then they'd have the highest probability of being behind it. Not a very clear explanation. It felt like he had magnificently avoided the details I really wanted to know. We don't know who or how involved anyone is right now. That is exactly why I don't want you to say anything to the villagers. Instead of answering, I gave a very bitter expression. It seemed that he understood it well enough. Then think of it like this. I don't want to worry the villagers who blindly believe it's the curse. How about that? What do you mean, how about that? How should I know? But the reasoning behind wanting me to not carelessly open my mouth about it wasn't too hard to comprehend. The perpetrator was here. It had nothing to do with the curse. He was definitely going to be caught by the police and made to pay for his crimes. And none of the villagers should have anything to do with that process. It may cause those sensitive about the curse to just worry needlessly. Just like everyone kept it from me so I wouldn't worry about it. Is it now my turn to keep it from them so they didn't have to worry? I was just talking to myself. Unlike me, everyone else had been worrying over these mysterious incidents yearly, and the incident this time probably means a lot more to them. I didn't want to burden them anymore. In the end, everything went as the man had wanted, as insipid as it was, but it couldn't be helped. I understand. I'll keep it to myself. Is that fine, Mr. Oishi, from the Okunomiya police station? You can call me Kuro-chan if you want. Ah, no. Oishi-san is fine. The way he said it was unpleasant, yet retained hints of politeness. He was the spitting image of a vulgar police officer. Though I've never seen one this bulky before in the cop shows I watch. I've taken up too much time. Your friends are waiting, aren't they? I should probably let you get back to them. The door opened with a click, and in streamed the oppressive heat. It was blistering outside of the car. Was it really this hot of a day? It was an almost cruel heat as opposed to the mechanical coolness inside the car. It was as if the land of Hinamizawa itself suddenly hated me. I felt a little sad as that thought crossed my mind. I didn't mean to suspect your friends. Please don't misunderstand that. I refrained from telling him that it was too late to say something that self-serving. It's fine if you don't see or hear anything, my Bar-san. There is enough proof that the village is not involved. I'll contact you if I hear or see anything, but I'm no detective. Please don't expect too much from me. I won't. You don't have to become a detective. Just go on living as you have up until now. Just let me know if you notice anything. I hastily made my way back to the school building after giving him a quick bow. See you later. Farewell, my Barakun. I returned to the school building without looking back. I don't know how much time had passed. Well, based on the conversation, it's probably a good 15 minutes. I did feel bad for keeping them waiting, but right now there was a lot on my mind. Tomitaka-san's death was hard enough as it was, but to think that there was the possibility of a village conspiracy? Worse still, there was also a chance that Mion was involved. Nonsense. Impossible. Not Mion, Rena, Satoko, or Rika-chan. It was a group that attacked Tomitaka-san? Who could the perpetrators be? Could it be they were hiding here? Somewhere in Hinamizawa? I didn't know. All I could say for certain was that I knew that Mion couldn't be the perpetrator. It's me, John, the perpetrator. I was startled to hear Rena's voice. With the rope in the lounge. Nope. No. Rena clutched her head while flailing about. Looks like you're just self-destructing over here. Wow. Ah, Keiichi-san, you're quite late. As you may well know, I'm seething with anger. Sorry about that. I was called into the staff room, you see. You were reprimanded for bad behavior? That's a shame. Well, it's been pretty heated over here. It's getting pretty late. Let's make the next game the last one. If I remember right, I had 0 points. Doesn't it pretty much decide that I'm going to be finishing in last place? Don't worry, Cage-kun. I'm at -1 points. Oh. The heck? Her score is lower than mine and I wasn't even playing. This is the final match to decide if the penalty is going to be carried out by Rena alone or by both Kei-chan and Rena. Yeah, right. Just let Rena do the penalty by herself. We made a promise, Cage-kun, that we would both win. I waited all this time, you know? You know? I'm sorry about that. I followed my initial plan of showing Rena my cards, but I didn't say who was the criminal and just waited for her to call. I got it. The murderer is me, with the poison at the entrance. Is it? Is it? My Maui, Rena. Quite a quick answer? Another stab in the dark? Oh. Rena's correct. Oh! And it's decided that Keiichi-san shall take part in the penalty as well. Hooray! Keiichi-kun, let's both do our best. Yeah, let's do our best. It's my fault, so I have no choice. And that's game. It's me, Mio, and Sonozaki ranked first, and dead last are Keiichi Maibara and Rena Ryugu. Everyone applauded and the game ended. The problem now was the penalty. Now then, I ranked first, so I'll decide what you'll be buying for the gopher penalty. What will she make us buy, I wonder? Let's blacklist the drugstore. That was your aim, wasn't it? Huh? I don't have any business at the drugstore. This old man's already got a list prepared for you on this piece of paper. Whoa, there's a lot written here. A lot? Damn it, what is she making us buy? 2 blocks of tofu, shampoo and conditioner, apple vinegar and fried tofu. The heck is this? Looks more like a shopping list than a penalty. Me was certain she was going to win today. Rule 7 of our society. You cannot refuse any penalty. Here's some money. The shampoo I usually get is Fruit Fable. Thanks. This is just your grocery list! I promised myself that if I won next time, I'd make her go buy hemorrhoid cream. And then we slowly fade out. Oh, more tips. There are more than 4 perpetrators. Search notice. Hypovolemic shock, induced by clawing out their own throat. Tissue is packed under the nails. Not someone else's nails. It's undoubtedly by the individual's own nails. The shape of the scars also matches. Yeah, I know the immediate cause of death was suicide. I get it. You're saying the cause of death is unnatural, right? It's kind of like when your back itches and you scratch a little too hard and draw blood. Yeah, it's exactly the same. Some of Tomitake's fingernails had been pulled out. It's actually quite simple to pull out one's nails. But it really hurts. Under normal circumstances, the pain would prevent you from completely pulling them out. Also, there were a lot of bruises on Tomitake's body. It's clear from the shape of them that he was assaulted first by someone, or a group of people. According to the toxicology report, the deceased was in an extreme state of hysteria right before death. Then he fought back and clawed out his own throat because of how hysterical he had become. The guys attacking him certainly would have been surprised by that. It is possible that, in such an abnormal environment, a person could perform acts that a sane individual couldn't possibly imagine. Of course, those are very rare cases. Actually, Oishi-kun, that wood plank the deceased used as a weapon? They only found sand and the paint from the guardrail on it. What about cloth fibers or skin? Nothing. The deceased didn't strike the assailants. Or it could be they took the plank he was fighting back with. In that case, they wouldn't have gone out of their way to replace it with another. They'd take them all. That's true. Tobitaki's pretty built and tanned. He was quite athletic. Hmm? That's right. He was pretty active. I can't imagine what kind of sports he did when he was alive, but I think his physical strength would be on the higher side. He would be difficult to overpower in a brawl. So I'd want to see his original thing to see if the muscles show that well. A bit. Like that bit. It's pretty close, but it's obviously much more shown in this one. If a man with such a physique sensed he was in danger and swung the plank around quickly, it's just unthinkable that it wouldn't even nick the perpetrator. And his opponent was unarmed. This guy had a wooden plank, so you'd think he'd hit him at least once. To surround and take down someone of his physique, I wonder how many people it would take. You dimwit. You should know better than anyone. Have you forgotten your bad cop days? If I was to take down this guy, how many would I need? When a group wants to take down big prey, it's fundamental to attack with numbers. I guess about 4. Even if there was a gap in their strength, they'd manage. And there were quite a few perpetrators. So any drunk and disorderly groups of more than 4 are suspicious? A group of 4 or more. Just, if they had that many, then couldn't they have hidden the body in a less obvious location? Or did he somehow break away from that fatal predicament? Then there would be no reason to commit suicide. Moreover, I still can't comprehend the irregular way he died. It's full of mysteries. That's under serious consideration on my end, too. I'll be examining it as thoroughly as possible, but don't get your hopes up. After all, we've never encountered a death like this before. I'm not hoping for much, but I am looking forward to the results. Oishi-san, the chief is calling you. Thanks. See you around. Yeah, best wishes. It's nice to see some of these things you don't see in the anime for sure. The anime did a pretty dang good job of this so far, I'd say. Jiro Tomitake, deceased. Resided in a cheap hotel in Shishibone City. Registered under the name Jiro Tomitake. Pen name. Travels via folding bike. No license. The bicycle was found 300 meters away, abandoned at the side of a forest path. Present on the day of the festival, accompanied by the missing Mio Takano. Was seen around 9 p.m. by police. Location afterwards unknown. Held residence in Hinamizawa for 1 week each season for the last 5 to 6 years. Freelance photographer specializing in wild birds. Check with magazine companies. Nothing suspicious in the film located among the articles of the deceased. Wallet was among the articles of the deceased. Mere act of violence? From the contents of his wallet, he spent most of his time around Tokyo and Chiba. Along the Sobu National Railway line? No individual matching the name Jiro Tomitake in the residency records of any of the Tokyo wards. Compare teeth to dental records. Send to Metro Police. Attach a photo. Send to Metro Police. Contacting magazines regarding Jiro Tomitake. Mio Takano, missing. Nurse at Irie Clinic. Became close to Tomitake through her passion for wild bird photography. Resides in Okonomiya District. Single. Witnessed accompanying Tomitake on the festival grounds. Currently missing. Abducted? Or maybe a suspect. An important person of interest. Had no motive to kill the deceased. Squabble from jealousy? Need to thoroughly investigate their relationship. Place of work, etc. Need to get information from the police on the scene again. Want some cream puffs. 4 jumbo ones. Oishi. I'm just gonna do something real quick with my Steam. This button. Yeah, that. Thank you for waiting. That's that, and we are set to continue. And go back to this. And we continue when we save on the first line again. Sleepy. Oops, wrong one. I feel like I want to turn down the music a tiny bit. Alright. Whoa, that was a really big yawn, Cage-kun. I'm usually awake once it's time to eat, but it doesn't look like I can do it today. I was watching TV until late last night. I'm so tired right now. Was one of those raunchy TV shows you loved so much on last night? How extremely vile. Don't jump to conclusions. It's perfectly normal for boys, nothing to be ashamed about. Rika not patting my head only made me feel worse. Did you just let me pass out on this lunch break? No, seriously. Ma, you think I would just sit here and allow that? I'll get really angry if you disturb me. Really angry. Yeah. This was just dreadful. Just so sleepy. I slumped my head onto the desk and drifted off into an afternoon nap. It seemed that Satoko had responded, but I pretended not to hear. Cut it out, Satoko-chan. Keiichi-kun fell asleep. His sleeping face. So cute! You can take him home later. Let him be for now. Let's move over there. It would be rude to Keiichi if we bothered him now. Rika-chan really is a good girl. Let's not wake him up even if the teacher comes back. I take that back. The excuse that I didn't sleep much last night because I was watching TV was a lie. I was in bed at the usual time, but because of the conversation with Oichi-san that afternoon, I didn't get much sleep. Just spending the day like this, it's almost as if the accident with Tomitake-san didn't happen at all. It made me think, was Oishi-san just trying to deceive me? But it was probably the truth. One thing was certain, I couldn't speak to anyone about it. He wanted my assistance, but I really didn't know anything about it. If I knew I wasn't going to be of any help, I probably wouldn't have listened in the first place. It ended up with me, again, regretting learning something I didn't need to know, for like the 4th time in this story. If I had never learned about it, I would, without a doubt, be goofing off with the rest of them right now. I couldn't help but resent Oishi-san for this. Huh? When was that? I heard he wasn't there the next day. It appears he vanished the night of the Watanabe. Neon whispered to keep others from listening, but I could hear it clearly. On the other hand, Rena's voice was even harder to pick up. But I could still tell that she was quite upset. It couldn't be. Are they talking about Tomitake-san? Only Itake? Not sure. That's all I know. I would have to feign ignorance about this topic because I needed to keep it a secret. Rather than waking up and being forced to lie to join the conversation, it was much easier just to sit here and pretend I was asleep to listen in on their discussion. Wait, why did I have to pretend to be asleep while eavesdropping on my friend's conversation? The guilt. Stone. So, and me. There are others, right? Too. But they don't know if it's from the curse or if this was an Onikakushi. Onikakushi? Onikakushi? To be hidden away by a demon? What a mysterious phrase. I did, however, get the feeling it meant nothing good. Each L. That was another, right? Right? If it's Oyashiro-sama's, yeah. But, this year, at all. Grandma and the mayor had talked about it. Seems they talked to the police about it beforehand. They said they'd take care of whatever happens this year without causing a commotion. Then, without us knowing it, someone had it. I mean, maybe. Next could mean I wonder. Don't worry, you got home safely. But it's not allowed, right? That was a long time ago. Let's stop talking about this. Amidst the uncomfortable mood, both of them went silent. The entirety of the conversation was still a bit unclear, but a few parts caught my attention. First of all, the term onikakushi. To be demoned away. By the context it was used in, I would guess it's similar to being spirited away. I suspected that was what it meant because Tomitaki-san and that woman, it really bugged me that I don't know her name, vanished after the Watanagashi. The next thing that stuck out was when Rena said, "There's another one, right?" Mion also said, "If it's Oyashiro-sama's." Yeah, responding to something. If it's Oyashiro-sama's curse, then there had to be 2 victims? Is that what she meant? Come to think of it, I remember Mion saying at the beginning that they didn't know if it was from the curse or if it was a case of onikakushi. It seems that the curse and being demoned away are different things, and they were phenomena that were paired together. I recalled Tomitaki-san's terrible end. That wasn't something as elegant as disappearing. That horrendous end would best be described as cursed. Then, the woman with him. It means she vanished because she was demoned away? What I do know is that there's normally an even number of victims of the curse proper. And last point that bothered me was Rena. Rena was frightened. For what reason, I didn't know. However, she knew that something had made her a potential target for Oyashiro-sama's curse. If I recall correctly, Oyashiro-sama should be the garden deity of Hinamizawa. Isn't a garden deity supposed to defend the citizens and drive out invaders? If I recall correctly, yesterday, Ueshi-san said that originally the targets were enemies of the village, but recently there was no longer any distinction between them or regular outsiders. But if that was the case, then I would think that I'd be the more likely target, having moved here more recently than Rena. From her composure, I could infer that she was grimly certain that she would be next. I should probably relay what I'd heard just now to Oishi-san, informing the police of what I heard by eavesdropping on my friends while pretending to be asleep. It made me feel terrible. It raised a few questions and left me with a bad taste in my mouth. Would it be better not to seek the answers to those questions? As I continued to learn more and more, I felt like I had fallen past the point of no return. I would definitely regret this one day. I would definitely regret ever having learned of these events. And now a nice bright story. The teacher approaches! Keiichi-san! You must awaken! In the distance, I could hear the ring of the handbell signaling the start of afternoon classes. Yeah, I couldn't sleep at all. I hastily opened my eyes and raised my head up. It was in that moment when I leaned against the back of my seat. Whoa! There was a thumbtack stuck on the back of my chair with tape. Circumstantial evidence was enough. Satoko! Guilty without trial. Capital punishment. I furiously jumped up from my seat. I tripped as if my feet were tangled up. My shoelaces had been tied together. Not bad, Satoko. While I was sleeping, you were able to conceal your presence, able to pull off this fine piece of work. The teacher came in right as I was about to pull off my shoes and tackle Satoko. Oh! Did you not notice that our teacher has arrived, Keiichi-san? Take your seat. Clunk, clunk, whoosh, woof. Not caring one bit, I made her eat a flick to the forehead. Keiichi-san is being mean. Hey, don't pick on the younger kids, Maibara-kun. Apologize to her. I saw Satoko stick her tongue out at me. That little brat. Come on, Maibara-kun. Yeah, I'll apologize. Sorry, Satoko-san. In any case, I apologize, even if it was in a completely insincere tone of voice. Damn her. I'll remember this. Kei-chan, get your revenge at the club meeting. Take your seat. I sat down after Mion told me to. She had switched to class representative mode. With the boring classes finished, school is finally over for the day. Now then, what should we do for our club today? Personally, I would like to play that deduction game one more time. I was hardly able to play it last time because of Oishi-san. Ren and I weren't even able to test out our strategy. That's right, today Keiichi-kun and I will be victorious. What should we do? We've never played the same game 2 days in a row before. Why not try asking me? Mion looked over her shoulder as we made eye contact. She slowly tapped her palm with her fist as her face suddenly lit up. Oops! I completely forgot I need to go help my uncle today. Sorry guys, not today. Helping your uncle? Aren't you a little goody two-shoes? Sorry, really. I really did forget. Well then, sorry guys. This old man is heading back home now. Mion left us with that and rushed off to the exit after snatching up her bag. You see, Michan, she sometimes goes to help out at her uncle's shop in town. Ah, I thought she wasn't the type to get caught up in such bothersome stuff. She said that she gets paid for it. It's quite a bit of spending money from what I hear. I see. She was able to pay for that mountain of games with what she saved up from there. But that? Wouldn't you call that a part-time job? Isn't that against school policy? There's a clause that states family businesses are excluded. Oh, isn't that nice? Just a bit of child labor. Is that what she's calling it? So what now? Pass on the club today? So, we're done today, I guess? Won't it be fine even without the club president? Let's do this. I opened the club locker and began searching for the deduction game from that ever-growing pile of games. Ah, here it is, the deduction game from yesterday. Man, I had to stop just as I was getting the hang of it. At the very least, I wanted to repay Satoko for what she did during the afternoon break. I do not mind, but is that fine for Ren-san and Rika? If Keiichi-kun wants to so badly, I won't mind playing for a bit. I think it's better if we do it when we have everyone together. When she says it like that. I wanted to go shopping if there wasn't a club meeting today. Going to buy soy sauce and other things. Oh, that's right. I completely forgot. Well, I guess since it's been a while, I should go treasure hunting. What's this now? Everyone was no longer in the mood for club activities. If I kept on trying to push the matter, it may make them realize I have a trick up my sleeve. Ah well, I'll give up this time. Man, I was really looking forward to playing it. I shuffled through the cards as if I was still caught up on it. At the next opportunity, I shall give you a sound thrashing. Oh! The murderer is Satoko. The murder weapon is the pistol. It was you after all. What did you say? I'll just... Satoko looked through the cards on the desk and stuck out 3 of them at me. The murderer is Keiichi, in the lounge with the rope. I don't need no rope. I'll just strangle you like this. No! Keiichi-san is such a beast. Phew. Well, I guess it's good that I got that out of my system. Bah! I'll remember this Keiichi-san. She was used as a plaything for quite a while. How unfortunate. Cute. Cute. Everyone got ready to go back home. I also helped gather up the scattered cards. I suddenly paused. They were just the suspect cards, but I noticed something strange. Rena, Sasuke, Rika, Keiichi, Mion. Satoshi. Satoshi. Not all the cards were made by us, or at least every card besides this one has the name of a club member. I only just noticed this, but Satoshi and Satoko have the same name besides the last bit. Does this mean that this Satoshi fellow is a member? Was there someone in the class named Satoshi? I couldn't find anyone named Satoshi on the class roster stuck up on the wall. Keiichi-kun, let's hurry up and finish cleaning up. Being rushed by Rena, I finished up quickly. Satoko and Rika-chan had already headed merrily for their lockers, so we were the only ones left in the classroom. Right now, Rena had already gotten her bag and was ready to leave. Rena, there must be quite a few people who transfer from the school, right? I tried asking Rena in a bit of a roundabout way. Rena made a troubled face and then answered. Yeah, Hinamizo is a rural town, right? Some people transfer out every now and then. Then is Satoshi another one of those transferees? Sorry, I don't really know. There was a bit of a pause, but the answer was pretty much immediate. I'm not saying it to be mean. Just last year, I transferred in, so maybe I just missed him. So I didn't hear much about him. Sorry. I'm not sure. Sorry. Her answer was a lot like when she refused to tell me about the murder at the dam. I was saddened by her denial. I felt a little bit of anger. I'm their friend, aren't I? Friends don't keep secrets from their friends, do they? Though I do appreciate that they kept that unsettling curse thing from me. But if everyone is worried about it, I'd rather be worried with them. That's what it means to be friends, right? For a moment, I wondered just what kind of face I was making just then, with these mixed feelings of sadness and annoyance. Keiichi-kun, you're making a scary face. Why is it? Why? It was probably exactly the kind of face Rena said it was. It appeared my grim expression had frightened her. Ah, sorry. I was really looking forward to the club today. I'm just feeling down about it. I rustled Rena's hair. Let's go home. Dragging that awkward mood with us, we headed home. I wonder why. Why have I been getting this dumb feeling lately? I didn't know anything. I had nothing to worry about. I was just enjoying my everyday life. My long, outstretched shadow gave no answer to my naive inquiry. Keiichi-kun, are you tired, maybe? Maybe? Rena timidly questioned the reason behind my mood. I'm sure my expression made this situation even more unsettling. You think so? Yeah. You seem to have been a little out of it ever since this morning. Maybe a cold? Physically, I was pretty sure I was in perfect health. It may not seem like it, but I've had perfect attendance since elementary school. Rena continued on since I didn't give her an answer. It could be that the fatigue from moving has finally caught up to you. It's completely different from where you used to live, after all. Of course you've gotten tired, since there's so much you need to get used to and remember. Maybe that's it. Yeah, it has to be. Rena was also like that at first, too. I can tell, you know? You know? I wondered if Rena also experienced the slight bit of alienation last year that I was feeling right now. Thinking so, I felt that she was the only one who could understand how I felt. I'd like to hear about when you first came to Hinamizawa. How was it? Feeling I had been drawn into the conversation, her face suddenly brightened. It was the same as Cage-kun. I didn't know the villagers' names at all. Michan and the rest were all very kind, so I wasn't lonely. But I did still feel a little out of place. Rena told me all the details of when she had moved here. All of her first acquaintances and surprises, worries and good times. So, Satoko got you too? Yeah. There was a thumbtack put on my chair. Poke. And with that yeah, that really takes me back. When were you invited into the club? First day? Nah, there wasn't a club at the beginning. It was formed partway through. But if that's the truth, why was there a Satoshi card? Hmm. One day she said we should stay after and hold a big game tournament. Come to think of it, Mion did say she was the first club president. Now I get it. This is a secret, but Mi-chan used to be really bad at the beginning. She'd never win. Huh? Mio? Really? I can't even imagine that. She had to do most of the penalties that she came up with. Seriously, don't tell. I can't believe Mion was like that. So she gradually transformed into a monster who used any means necessary to win during that time. Mion is at her best when she's fighting dirty. I began making more friends besides Mi-chan after that. But, yeah, it might have only been since you moved here that I had finally felt like I had gotten used to it here. I guess Rena had also been left in the dark about Oyashiro-sama when she had just moved here. I guess when they finally told me about Oyashiro-sama, I'd be considered one of them. I wonder when I'll finally be considered one of them. He said that out loud. Huh? Did you say something? No, sorry. Just talking to myself. Keiichi-kun, you're silly. Rena was poking fun and laughing at me, but I couldn't help but laugh as well. But I suddenly stopped. Then, after making up my mind, I spoke. Hey, Rena, is there something that everybody is keeping from me? Huh? No, not at all. You're lying, aren't you? Rena suddenly stopped. Her expression was cold and intense. What do you mean by that, Keiichi-kun? Her tone was still the same cheery and light-hearted one as before. You are, aren't you? Keeping something from me. After understanding what I meant, her expression grew even more intense. Seeing that face, I regretted saying something so rash. But she came back at me in a way I didn't expect. Well then, Keiichi-kun, aren't you keeping something from us? Yikes. Huh? I wonder if the old model also had something. It does. I gotta check when she switches back after. Her tone didn't change, but it was the first time I had seen this expression from Rena. With how her gaze pierced through me, I couldn't believe this was the same Rena. Aren't you? Lies or secrets? Aren't you? You are. Secrets. She didn't actually say that part, but she looked as if she did. The incident with Tomitaki-san and how I felt alienated from the group. Even without having to think about it, there were things I knew that I felt guilty about. But I didn't tell everyone about what happened with Tomitaki-san to be considerate. I was keeping it a secret just the same way they didn't tell me about Oyashiro-san. Then, aren't we even? No, I'm not. No lies, nor secrets. Liar. Her answer was instant, and it shook me. Rena stared as if burrowing through me, watching me like a hawk. Why would you say I'm lying? Didn't you say that you were called into the teacher's room yesterday during the club meeting, Keiichi-kun? I know. You didn't go to the teacher's room. I swallowed hard. It clearly wasn't a bluff. She knew what happened. The teacher said you had a guest, didn't she? But you didn't talk at the entrance. You talked inside of the car near the school gate. With some man we don't know. Rena knew everything. She knew that I was called out by Oishi-san, that I heard about the incident with Tomitaki-san as well, Did she know all of it? Exactly who was that man? I don't know him. Why did someone you don't know have business with you? Uh, I want to know that myself. And what did you talk about? It has nothing to do with you guys. It was a lie. Lies! Rena's scream echoed through the trees, sending frightened birds into the airs. I couldn't exhale the deep breath I had just taken. No, it was like I wasn't allowed to exhale. It was here I first realized. The person in front of me. She wasn't Rena Ryugu. Then, who was it that was standing before me now? Who had assumed Rena Ryugu's appearance? I had held my breath for so long, I could feel myself suffocating. Right? And she made a facial expression that Rena normally might have made. It didn't matter that it was Rena's usual smile. It chilled me to the bone. She drew closer to me. I felt her breath against my face. It wasn't the least bit exciting. Whoever this was with Rena's face was going to chew my nose right off. I cowered as I imagined that. Then she smirked as if she was able to see right through me. We also have secrets, just like Cage-kun has secrets. It was Rena's usual smile, but her eyes were still like that of a hawk's. Bringing her face close enough to mine to almost bump into my nose, she kindly persuaded me. I couldn't nod or shake my head. This person standing in front of me, this person who looked like Rena, frightened me to my core. I was terrified knowing that she could hear the sound of me swallowing nervously. After what felt like an eternity, after a long, empty silence, she finally spoke. Let's go. It's getting chilly. Just gonna check the eyes real quick. Yeah. They lightened up the inside. It was Rena again, smiling at me once more. She started walking as if nothing at all had happened. When I was released from her gaze, my legs gave out from under me. I slumped onto the ground. I wasn't able to lift a finger until Rena was out of sight. Who was that? I felt cold. My body was drenched in sweat. I was finally able to form a coherent thought and asked myself once again, who was that person who looked like Rena Ryugu? That's that great scene with her voice actress in the anime. I was out of it and couldn't bring myself to do anything until dinner, except stare blankly into space. Was I terrified from Rena going off on me? No, it's not right. That was someone else who only looked like Rena. Then who could it have been? It was a dreadful feeling, knowing that that was someone else, not Rena. So tomorrow I shouldn't have a problem talking to Rena like I usually do. That thought was strangely comforting. I concluded that I should just calm down and clear my head, though those thoughts continued swirling around my mind. Finally, I returned to my senses as I heard my mother calling out to me from the bottom of the steps. Keiichi, it's a call from the bookstore. Bookstore? Can't think of why they'd be calling me. I went downstairs and picked up the receiver anyway. My apologies for calling so late at night. It's me, Oishi of the Okinomiya bookshop. Oishi-san. Oh, it's Oishi-san. Sorry, since your parents picked up, I say I was from the bookstore. Puts people off when I say I'm a police officer. Oishi-san was, in his own way, rather courteous. Even so, I didn't want my parents hearing me talk to the police. I brought the cordless phone with me as I dashed back up to my room on the second floor. Sorry for calling so late. That phone number on the piece of paper I gave you yesterday was the old number. My apologies. Can you copy down the number I'm about to give you? Ah, yeah. Okay. He gave me the number for his direct line as I wrote it down. I thought that was the end of it, but he began making pointless small talk, and it was pretty hard to hang up. So how has it been, my san? Did anything strange happen recently? I see. This was the real reason. He really beat around the bush there. His adult conversational skills left me slack-jawed. Are you from around here, Oishi-san? Yeah, I am. Born and raised in Okonomiya. If he's from around here, he might know. Oishi-san, do you know what this onikakushi thing is about? I believe that's when somebody suddenly vanishes because they've been abducted by a demon. It's a special saying from around here. It has the same meaning as spirited away, like everyone else says. Whereas my friends would say they didn't know when I asked. This older man gave me a direct answer. It made me a bit happy that he answered me directly without trying to hide anything. Hinamizawa was not sure if I should tell you this, Maibara-san. Don't try to play this off. If you're not going to talk, then I'm not going to tell you anything. No. No, that's not what I meant. It's just, it may make you feel bad. You see, long ago, Hinamizawa was feared as the village where demons reside. Demons? By demons, you mean those pitchfork-carrying things in hell? More like human-eating monsters. They go down to villages, snatching people up, gobbling them down. That kind of tale. Demons snatching up people is what this onikakushi really means. Sneeze. That one almost didn't want to come out. Sorry. They said that the curse and being demoned away happened together. Oops. What does that mean? I already knew about the mysterious deaths happening 5 years in a row. But I didn't know there were people disappearing for those same 5 years. The curse and being demoned away happened together? First time I've heard of that. Is that how it is, Maibara-san? That's what I want to know. I heard Rena and Mion talking. They said that if it was really Oyashiro-sama's curse, then both the curse and demoning away would happen. Oyashiro-san began hemming and hawing on the other end of the receiver. Maybe something about that came to mind? Maibara-san, do you know the first incident? The murder by dismemberment? Yeah. One of the 6 perpetrators is still on the run, right? Hypothetically, what if he isn't on the run, but was demoned away? Huh? It was an outrageous hypothesis from Oishi-san. Blow my nose in a second. Ugh. How do I open this thing? Pocket tissues. The incident 4 years ago was the particularly ghastly one. The police already knew the perpetrators, so they posted tons of wanted posters with his face on them. Give me a few seconds to blow my nose. They staked various locations and investigated every possible escape route he had. But after 4 years, there wasn't even a hint of where he might be. Unless the police were completely incompetent. Even if it was an outrageous hypothesis, I simply couldn't laugh it off. And what about the incident the next year, when the man who supported the project and his wife both died in an accident? Well, actually, it was only the husband who died in an accident. His wife's body never surfaced. Unless we find the body, and it's considered a missing person by law. At the time of the incident, with the river below the cliff being muddy rapids, police divers had searched every branch off the main stream of the river for dozens of miles, but in the end, they weren't able to find her body. But that's just not them being able. That's just them not being able to find the body. She's still dead, right? Isn't it different from her being demoned away? We cannot say someone is dead without their body. Until a certain number of years pass by law, she's treated as still alive. I'm not sure if it was right to call that being demoned away. The wife is missing. At least that part was reality. How about the third year? The Shinto priest died of illness, and his wife committed suicide? Maiba-san, it's actually the exact same scenario. The wife had supposedly thrown herself into the bottomless marsh deep in the forest around Hinamizawa. Meaning it's all circumstantial evidence. They simply found her suicide note in front of the marsh. A diver was able to recover a few remnants, but they weren't able to find a body. The investigative headquarters believed that she had faked her death and was still alive somewhere. I'm not sure if we can call these cases as being demoned away. It's just as you've said, every year one person does go missing. The incident this year, the one with Tomitaki-san, has gone missing. And what about the incident with the housewife beaten to death? Who went missing? I believe the perpetrator was caught, right? Yeah, we arrested him. He was just a miscreant with a record of narcotics abuse. He admitted to the crime while we questioned about a different incident. But, well, you see, after he was arrested, a child from the victim's home went missing. It's still under investigation as to whether the disappearance had anything to do with the crime. But you said you caught him, right? Do you have an accomplice? No idea. Considered a separate case. That's why I didn't know about it till now. Moreover, we can't even check now. Because while under investigation, that man, he died in his holding cell. He swallowed a spork and choked to death. It's not known whether it was an incident or suicide. I mean, for the last 5 years, there's always one person who dies and one who goes missing. That's about right. No, actually, I'm surprised as well. I never realized they had that in common. I couldn't believe that this could help lead to the closing of those incidents. It was just something they had in common. Could it be that those demoned away have something in common? Oshi-san mumbled as he seemed to be thinking about it. Yeah, it was again. Jeez. So I summarized the events. The first year was the dam employee. Second year was the wife of the dam project supporter. Third year was the wife of a Shinto priest. Fourth year was the victim's family's child. And the fifth year was the victim's girlfriend, I guess. Doesn't seem like there's anything that connects them. With the exception of the first year, wives and girlfriends, those do stand out. It does seem like there are a lot. That means the fourth year's victim's child was different. It would have really stood out if it were all married couples. Except it's not just married couples, but parents and children as well. Spring water. Come to think of it, I believe Tomitaki-san also told me the younger brother is alive and has moved, if I recall correctly. The child that went missing in the fourth year, who were they? Apparently he was quite mature, 1 year older than you. His name was Satoshi Hojo-san. Huh? Satoshi? I remembered that name. Didn't they tell me Satoshi transferred out last year? He was at your school up until last year. Didn't they tell you anything about him? Come to think of it, when I transferred in, I believe they said my seat belonged to a recent transfer student. Then Where I sat once belonged to the one who was demoned away? It was his seat? I recalled the cold sensation that came from that desk. It made my hair stand on end. A string of mysterious deaths. No. Oishiro-sama's curse. I now knew how it was connected to me. That chilling sensation. It was the feeling of Oishiro-sama caressing the back of my neck. Oishiro-sama's curse, huh? Could Oishiro-sama's curse really exist? In all honesty, I was beginning to believe it. I was scared. That was why I wanted to say it was a plot crafted by men and not the work of a curse. But the more I dug into it, the less likely that seemed. No, the more I dug, the more mysterious it became. If I kept digging, eventually, I'd reach the point where I'd learn something I really shouldn't know. To either be none the wiser, or to seek an answer I might regret. Which one would I be happier with? Maybe it'll be me next time. My execution could only be delayed for 1 year. That was when I remembered. I was still on the phone with Oishi-san. Rena. Rena said she may be the next victim of the curse. You mean Rena Ryugu-san? She transferred in last year and she's your classmate, isn't she? These incidents might be a bit too disturbing for a girl. She's not just scared, is she? It wasn't that. She said it might be her next. She had said it in a way that made me think she had a concrete reason behind it. It felt like she was convinced. Almost as if, you could say, she was frightened. Her sudden change in demeanor. That someone who looked like Rena, but wasn't Rena. That might be unrelated. All the strange things that I felt from Rena today came back to me. I see. I'll be doing a bit of investigating on this end. Please continue your observations of Ryugu-san and Aibara-san. Are you asking me to keep Rena under surveillance? That's not what I mean, Aibara-san. I just want you to watch out for your friend so she doesn't end up the next victim. At that moment, just as my mouth was agape, because I was so impressed with his mature, clever way with words. Knock, knock. A sudden knock at the door sent my heart racing. In an instant, I had pointlessly covered up the end of the receiver. Keiichi, get the door, please. On the other side of the door, I heard my father's oddly upbeat voice. Throat suddenly feels clogged after that bathroom break. What could it be? It's so late. Sorry, my dad just came in. Can we leave it at this for tonight? Yeah. My apologies again for calling so late. If you find out anything else, please let me know. I'll tell you if I make any progress on this end. Well then, have a pleasant evening. Keiichi, hurry up and open up. Daddy's got his hands full. What is Dad doing? I had stayed in the same position while on the phone the whole time, so my joints were aching. When I opened the door, I saw my father was standing there with a tray. On that tray, cookies and 2 cups of black tea. Fairly fancy spread for our household. There was even sugar and lemon slices on the side. Everything you could ask for. This was quite the show of hospitality. What's going on, Dad? What's all this for? Come now, don't play around, Keiichi. I'm coming in. Dad was in high spirits and had a smirk on his face. But for my entire life, I've never seen him act this hospitable. What had gotten into him? So, what were you talking about? I jumped. It's not something I had to keep from my father. But how could I explain to him I was talking to a detective? I'm assuming he was. This late at night. Nothing much. Just a friend. I don't mean the phone. She was here, wasn't she? Rena-chan. She wasn't here. Come now, don't try to keep it from me. She just came over to play. You two were chatting away, so I thought I'd bring some tea, but looks like I just missed her. I had no idea what Dad was talking about. But a cold sweat dripped down my back. How long were we talking? Rena-chan went upstairs about half after, so it was close to an hour, I guess. You saw her come up to the second floor? Yeah, I did. I also told her that your room was the door down the hall up the stairs. Ryan came to my house about an hour ago. Dad met her at the door and called out to me on the second floor. Probably didn't hear him because I was so focused on my conversation with Oishi-san. I didn't reply, but he knew I was in my room, so he had her come inside. Then told her my room was on the second floor. She thanked my dad and went upstairs. Then about an hour passed. She passed by my dad just as he was bringing up tea and left. She came upstairs and about an hour passed. Then passed my dad and returned home. Then, after she came upstairs and until she left, where was Rena? There was only a short hallway between my room and the stairs, meaning Rena had, for about an hour, in the hall. No, she couldn't have been standing in front of my door all that time. The door to my room wasn't particularly thick. You could easily hear everything being said inside. All of the ominous things and all of the nonsense I spoke to Oishi-san about began rushing through my head. Honey, don't tease him. More importantly, you need to clean up your studio. It's a mess again. Mom yelled up at Dad from downstairs. Dad left the tray with me and went downstairs with a disappointed chortle. I followed my dad out of the room with my eyes. I looked down at the floor around the door where Rena might have stood all that time. Just now, as I was talking to Oishi-san, with my back turned, Rena was standing a mere 6 feet away the whole time. Hey, she was keeping social distancing! Perfect! All that time, in this dimly lit doorway. What did she see? What did she hear? For what reason? As the steam from the 2 teacups ominously wafted and twisted, the aroma of black tea filled my room. Guess that's a chapter in since I have new information. Yep. Notice from the police chief. Just one tip this time. I think I can still do one more, personally. Let's check that new tip from the police chief. July 1st, 1982. To Departments 1 through 12. Prefectural Police Headquarters. Director General. To the Chief Constable and all facility managers. Regarding cases situated in the Hinamizawa village, notice. As cases in Shishibone City, Hinamizawa village have been reported by certain sections of mass media. It has drawn global attention, which is causing serious repercussions for the local residents. This has become a very serious situation. To protect the livelihood and prosperity of the residents, the following notice has been issued. Okay. Thank you for going so fast that I couldn't read stuff, so let me slow you down. Designate the following criminal investigations as classified. Okonomiya Station 1982 case number. Hinamizawa Village housewife murder. Okonomiya Station 1982 case number. Hinamizawa Village student disappearance. 2. Non-disclosure of information. Okonomiya Station 1979 case number. Hinamizawa Village site foreman murder. Shira Station 1980 case number. Shira Natural Park falling incident. Okonomiya Station 1981 case number. Hinamizawa Village Shinto priest's wife's disappearance. Requesting self-restraint from each organization concerning the release of sensitive information. Please see attached reference materials 1, 2, and 3. Management Prefecture Police Headquarters. Internal line. Police Affairs Department. Alright, now I can go back probably. Yes. Alright, here we are. Director General believes it has been wrong. To protect the livelihood and prosperity of the residents, the following notice has been issued. Okay. That's probably it for it. Yep. Move on to the next. Save. Do another one. Weariness and a headache. It's not a very nice way to start the day. What's wrong, Keiichi? You don't look so well. When did you go to sleep? It seemed that my mom had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday, I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Without a doubt, I felt a presence. I felt the presence of someone standing in front of my door. I told myself repeatedly that it was my imagination, forced myself to try and sleep. Except not being able to stand it, I gathered up my courage and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night, and I closed my door each and every single time I did that. Or maybe I just didn't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table without incident, I still didn't feel at ease. It might be a cold. I don't recall really have an appetite. My, you do seem a little warm. Well, can you make it to school? Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. It wouldn't matter much if I missed a day, would it? It could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days because I really did have a cold. If I took some medicine and got a good day of rest, I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Ding dong! Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than when I usually met up with Rena. It was Rena. Rena-chan came to get you. What are you going to do? Are you going to take the day off? Rena was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. The lunches she made were delicious, and she always looked out for me. Why should I be so scared of something like that? It wasn't Rena's fault. It was probably mine. It had to have been my cold. It just had to be. I'll rest. Sorry. Well, I'll go send her off for you. Mom headed off to the door. I'll have to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Rena, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep-deprived, I quickly fell into a deep slumber. I had only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table I found lunch prepared and a note. Mom and Dad had apparently driven off to somewhere far away. It likely had to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. They would probably be back sometime after dinner. And that, on the note, said, "The insurance card is in the cabinet. Take it and go to the hospital." There was also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right. I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. I had a light lunch, although it really was just leftovers from the morning, and just in case, went to the hospital. Normally I'd never be here, in the middle of a weekday. Just walking around like this had me feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling. Following my mom's map, I took a road I usually never used. After walking for a bit, the hospital's sign came into view. Area Clinic was written rather stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale of the rest of Hinamizawa, it was far too grand. There was a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. They must be making a mint. I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen. "Maeba-san, please make your way to the examination room." After properly answering all of the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with the old, "It's probably a cold." They gave me a shot and 3 days' worth of medicine. I thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloomy feeling I had been having lately, then it was worth it. I realized they haven't shown the teacher or Dr. Irie in this. So I guess they only became characters in the anime. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping. If it wasn't for that word. Must have been only Kakshi. Wonder. She was still pretty young. Might have just eloped. With whom? That man from Tokyo who visits every season. That young woman with that big camera. Didn't you know they were getting along pretty well? Were they talking about Tomitaki-san? I could feel my ears perking up. I don't know about that, but you have to make preparations before you elope. Leave a note or quit their job or something. It's an elopement because they didn't leave a note or message. The thought that I'll never see that young nurse's face again makes me rather sad. Takano-san is an upstanding young woman. She'll be fine wherever she goes. So her name was Takano-san. That woman with Tomitaki-san. And she worked at this clinic? Oishiro-sama's shadow was following me everywhere I went. I started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing, and it didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topic. I gave up and left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from Oishiro-sama's shadow. But of course, Oishiro-sama was the guardian deity of this place, of Hinamizawa. As long as I was in Hinamizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. What's up with this music for today? Maybe it was because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. Might as well buy a snack with the change from the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned onto a familiar street. At that moment, I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far into the middle of the road where I'd be in a car's way? I moved further off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around, peeved. Maraba-san, good day to you. It was Oishi-san. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, and waved at me. What's up today? School on break? Just not feeling well, so I took the day off. I was about to buy lunch and head back home. That's great. I'm just about to get lunch myself. Would you mind going together? Ah, if you're not feeling up for it, then don't mind me. I was just going to lie down after going home anyway. I didn't really have a cold. I doubt you'd want to eat at one of these local places. Let's go into town. It's a bit of a drive, is that alright? I know a pretty good place. I'd finally begun to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying things. He probably wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hinamizawa. I think I should have had a sip. I went with Oishi-san, riding in his frigid car. It was almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie. I'm sorry about calling you so late last night. Did your parents get angry at you? No. I recalled Rena, who had been listening to the phone conversation all that time, separated from me by just the door. Even now, in the brightness of the sunlight, the thought still creeped me out. With a big bump that jolted the car, the road connected to the city changed from dirt to pavement. My head swiveled back with a sudden realization. That's right. This was where Tomitaki-san died. They've hit a snag on the investigation regarding Tomitaki-san. Oishi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye. They believed it was caused by hallucinogens, given how he was clawing out his own throat. But a drug that could cause that to happen so suddenly is extremely hard to come by. Bear in mind, of course, the autopsy was done with that premise in mind, but we didn't find any leads. You know that thing you see in comics all the time? Where's a drug that, if you put it in them, it doesn't leave any traces? They exist. Succinyl something or other. Well, it's pretty common. But you see, there doesn't seem to be any kind of drug that would cause Tomitaki-san to react like that. And you're saying the police concluded Tomitaki-san just died from the curse? couldn't help but feel that the police were worthless. I just wanted the idea of a curse to be disassociated from Tomitaki-san's mysterious death. Unfortunately, that's how it looks right now. Putting aside the cause of death, without a doubt, he was surrounded by a group of people and had taken a beating before he died. That was no curse, but an incident that was unquestionably involved other humans. That made me a bit relieved. We passed in front of the rather desolate but still busier than Hinamizawa train station. The car pulled into a restaurant parking lot, and I followed Oishi-san into the shop. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course there wouldn't be children in here in the middle of a weekday. 2, please. Non-smoking. This way, please. When you are ready to order, please call me over. We were led by a peculiarly dressed waitress to our table. I sat with Oishi-san in the booth. So what do you think? Aren't the waitress's outfits here cute? Huh? Well, I guess. The shop is always quite busy. It's more about the waitresses than the food, you see? Uh-huh. Oishi-san, you're leering. Hmm? Am I really? I don't even have the menu. Regardless of how the waitresses looked, the food was decent enough. Finishing our meals while talking about some inane topic, Oishi-san's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table. Yesterday we talked about Hinamizawa's past, didn't we? Yeah, that was the village of man-eating demons or something like that. I didn't know much about it myself, so I asked my grandmother about it this morning. Oishi-san took out the notepad that was stuffed into his breast pocket. Turns out that Hinamizawa used to be called Onigafuchi, or Ogre's Abyss. Onigafuchi. It's quite the name. The name is still around. The marsh where the Shinto's priest's wife drowned herself is still called Ogre's Abyss. It's said that the depths of that marsh connect to the realm of demons. Of course, nobody had told me anything about such an ominous marsh. And you see, it appears they were both feared and revered. A respect born of fear. I guess you could say it was a kind of deification. A village of inhuman creatures. Seems the demons were sennin, or mountain-dwelling mystics of some sort. Taking villagers with incurable illnesses into the Ogre's Abyss and healing them, for example. Even if we are calling them demons, tangled-nosed demon goblins or sennin would be a more apt description. They don't seem like such terrible people, even though they were called demons. But they were still man-eating demons. According to the story my grandma told me, as payment for treating the son's illness, let us eat the mother who brought him here, was apparently how things went. The price of curing her son was herself? That's unsettling. Of course the mother took her son and ran. Then, you see, all the people who lived in Onigafuchi, the demons chased them down, rounded them up, and captured them. The entire village, apparently. It's quite a frightening thing to imagine. In the end, it seems both the mother and son were caught and eaten. The end. There's a problem with this story. Both witnesses in the story were eaten, so nobody would be able to tell the tale, except for the entire village that were rounded up. Huh? Well, there are plenty of old fables like this. In contrast to the ghastly tale, Oishi-san laughed heartily while sipping his coffee. But well, there are quite a few other tales, where the demons from Onigafuchi band together to capture their prey. I recall that Mion said all the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities with how that part about unification overlapped. Normally they hunted down a single person, and they chose who it was going to be beforehand. Huh? That caught my attention. Oishi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant. My grandmother told me that you must never interfere with the demon's hunt. You should just hole up in your house and hide under the covers, she said. So what does this all mean? It means you mustn't ever help or protect the prey. As long as you don't disturb the demon's hunt, no harm will fall upon the villagers. It seems there's that kind of rule. Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you didn't see the atrocities. In other words, what happens if you break the rule? Well, they're man-eating demons after all. Many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story he told me overlapped with his theory that the perpetrators were all the village families. Even if it wasn't the whole village, it was conceivable that the villagers were hiding under the covers and leaving them to die. When there's a group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I didn't dare to speak it. Then, Oishi-san, I guess it looks like it's either the village's families or a group of villagers perpetrating the crimes? What do you think, Maibara-san? Excuse me. Another cup of coffee, please. That's why I wanted to know. It seemed that we were both waiting for the others to say that last part. I waited for the waitress to finish pouring coffee before speaking. Last year I had a nagging feeling when Satoshi-kun disappeared. Oishi-san muttered as he watched the milk swirl around in his coffee. So those friends of Satoshi-san, meaning your group of friends, Maibara-san, I had a bit. Really just a little bit, okay? A background checking done on them. If Oishi-san had said this to me before, I would have been furious since he told me earlier not to suspect my friends. But as I was now, I couldn't. This might sound pretty stupid, Maibara-san. If you feel that it's stupid, please say so. I'll just stop. Oishi-san was wearing the most serious expression I had ever seen from him. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There were quite a few things I regretted hearing from Oishi-san, but none of them were as threatening as this. A little voice inside of me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Keiichi. This was probably the last one. I took a deep breath, and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth. Please. That was all I could utter. Oishi-san stared into my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began. The victim of the incident in the first year was the overseer. A few weeks prior, he had an altercation with Mion Sonozaki-san. Multiple altercations. Oishi-san had said before that Mion had defied the dam project vehemently. Well, it wasn't hard to imagine how she'd be if she got worked up. In the second year, the married couple who supported the project died in that accident, right? They had a daughter. Her name is Satoko Hojo-san. Huh? Satoko meaning Satoko? Oishi-san's look told me that my voice was too loud. I realized it as well, and quickly quieted it down. The Shinto priest and his wife who died in the third year, you see? Their daughter is Rika Furude-san. Rika-chan was the housewife who died in the fourth year. You know already, don't you? It was the step-aunt of Satoko Hojo-san. She was in her aunt and uncle's custody, as she had lost both of her parents in the incident. She lived in the victim's house. I could tell my lips were getting dry. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I had thought it was nothing but a bizarre incident, one that I could easily distance myself from. But clicking and clacking, it had snuck all the way to my feet. The one who disappeared the fourth year, by the way. He was Satoko-san's older brother. What? Wait, just a second. It took everything I had to finally say that. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped my face with the napkin. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. But Oishi-san was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to finish sorting out my feelings, he started speaking again. The last of the things I shouldn't have heard. All the victims seem to be connected to your group of friends. That has to be just a coincidence. Maibara-san, keep it down. Everyone's looking. Mion? Satoko? Rika-chan? So what if they're connected? You're telling me all my friends? It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Oh, Ren is different, isn't she? Ren isn't connected with the victims at all. Rena Ryugu-san was living in the suburb of Ibaraki Prefecture up until last year. Well, it's true she hasn't directly met any of the victims. He said it in a roundabout way. Is he saying she's also connected? Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugu-san was moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. It seems she went through her school building and broke all of the windows. Rena did that? She broke all the windows at her school? That same silly Rena had? I couldn't even imagine it. It seems that after her 3-day suspension, she didn't return to school. She went to a neurologist and was diagnosed with dysautonomia. She was given weeks of counseling and medication. I wonder if it was something like a nervous breakdown. I had heard that it happens to people who are really methodical or overly sensitive. Neither of those matched Rena's easygoing personality. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all of the conversations he had with Rena-san. It shows up. And quite a bit at that. What did? I pressed forward carelessly. There couldn't be anything more for me to regret. She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. It felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my back. Why? Why had Rena spoken of Oyashiro-sama before she even came to Hinamizawa? Seems that the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost, appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow, looking down at her. My mind froze. I couldn't process why I was being told. A while after that, she moved to Hinamizawa. Ah, that's right. She's not an outsider. Huh? According to their residency register, the Ryugu family used to reside in Hinamizawa. Rena-san moved to Ibaraki right after she finished elementary school. My mind went completely blank. It was similar to the static you'd see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing as I lost all sense of comprehension. Maribel-san, are you alright? Shall we stop? Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here. Now I understand Rena. Then, how about the last victim, Tomitake-san? Who was he connected with? Irritated, I let out one final reprisal. All of them. Have you forgotten, Maibara-san? Didn't you all spend the night at the festival together quite merrily? Quite a few of the officers saw you enjoying yourselves. Now there was nothing I could respond with. I fell silent as my brain turned to mush. We should get going. Ah, Maibara-san, did you take your afternoon medicine? I had completely forgotten about the medicine I had gotten today until Oishi-san said that. I got another glass of water, and we left the shop after I chugged it down. We got in the car and returned to Hinamizawa via the rough road. I never really paid attention when I was on my bike, but did cars normally shake this much? It was almost as if the road was desperately trying to tell me something. But that big jolt was from the difference in the elevation of the road when it changed from cement to dirt. I was certain that I heard Tomitake-san scream. I sat in silence, just letting myself be shaken by the car. I'll drop you off at your house. You missed school because you were ill, correct? My apologies for the long conversation. Why did you talk to me? I blurted out the question. Really just blurted it out. I didn't expect an answer. I did check with you first, didn't I? If we should just stop. Not that. Why did you reach out to me? I understood quite well that Oishi-san was investigating this string of suspicious incidents. But why was he telling me all this? I knew nothing and I couldn't help. Everything Oishi-san spoke of was news to me. First of all, what could I, having just moved here, know? By chance, if there was a reason for Oishi-san to reach out to me, then it would have to be that I looked suspicious to Oishi-san, as I was part of Mion's circle of friends. I'm retiring this year. I plan on moving away after retiring as my grandma wants. So while I'm still on the case, I want to bring the truth behind this incident to light. Wait, if he's retiring, And his grandmother's still alive. His grandmother has to be ancient. Like, just pretending 30 years ago, no, 40 years ago, I will put him around, like, yeah, just pretending the retirement age is still around 65. For your grandmother to still be alive, she'd have to be like 95 at the youngest. And that's like really dark kind of 95. So, Oishi-san, you suspect them, don't you? Actually, a police officer might not retire at 65. Or a detective. All of them. Oishi-san didn't really give a response. Felt a little late, but I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings. This is most of my intuition from 30 years on this job. Oh, okay, 30 years, that means he's around 50-something. It's not as bad. Higurashi-san, you're the one in danger. I wanted to reply with, that was absurd. But in my downtrodden state, I couldn't bring myself to say it. I'll be retiring this year, so I won't be at the Watanabe next year. So I want to settle things. In other words, he was insinuating that on the next Watanabe, I might be the victim. I've been warned by the chief as well. Each incident in the string of cases has been solved, so don't bring it up again, or so I was told. This is the pressure that I'm facing. Pressure? From what? Someone in Hinamizawa. We've arrived. Is this fine? After some time, the car finally reached the path to my house. The clock read 2 p.m. I was surprised the little time had passed since we ate. It was hot outside the car. The chirping of the Higurashi hurt my ears. I won't mind if you just forgot everything I told you today. But I'm still going to keep investigating. I'll end Oyashiro-sama's curse this year. So you're saying I should contact you if anything happens? It's fine. Just contact me when you feel you have to, Maibara-san. I wasn't collected enough to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying it. Be sure to take it easy. Sorry for throwing all this at you while you're taking the day off because you're sick. I didn't really give any sort of response. I'll always be on your side. If anything, believe that. I'll be off now. The tires crunched over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn and disappeared into a cloud of kicked-up dust. It felt like I was watching a boat only throw me a lifesaver in shark-infested waters before disappearing into the distance. That was the first time I thought Oishi-san was being unfair, telling me I was going to be the next victim, and then just saying to contact him if something happened. This wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing. I was just the bait dangling off the line. Would the fish be the perpetrator? Or was it really just Oyashiro-sama's curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole. Damn it, I don't want to die. For some time I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left behind by the AC from the car. I think that should be chapter end, personally, but let's still have a bit more. I wonder how much time had passed since I'd laid down. It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. It would probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At that moment, the phone downstairs rang. It was probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she had called many times, but I just didn't notice it. Oh, it's the Maibara residence. Oh, he's alive. Hello, this is Mion. How you doing? Is this one of Keiichi's friends? Keiichi's resting now, but... Should I put him on? Huh? Is this his dad? Sorry. Idiot, you fell for it. Huh? Kei-chan! After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together. Except I was suspicious of her even as we were laughing. Was everybody really involved in the incidents? The fact that I couldn't say no saddened me. I believe that you seem well. But I was really worried, you know? Saku-chan was happy and said you got what you deserved. Riki-chan said how unfortunate he's sick. Looks like everyone was making a big deal out of it. Well, you know, so Kei-chan, it's now a bad time to come pay you a visit? A visit? No, it's okay. It's not like I'm dying. My grandma made a ton of mochi, you see. I was told to share them. So I'll bring you some. Hey now, you'll catch my cold. Not to worry, both Ren and I are too stupid to catch a cold. See ya. Be there in a bit. She hung up cheerfully. Rena's coming too? That's what it sounded like. I was still concerned about meeting Rena. I guess she was with me on. I heard the doorbell 10 minutes later. How are you feeling? Did you take your medicine and rest? I did just that. Thank goodness you look well. I was worried. Sorry, I'll be fine by tomorrow. Man showed a complete lack of concern for someone who's recovering, and Rena looked like she was worried about me from the bottom of her heart. It didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions. I thought we might hang out for a bit, but it looks like you're not quite in the condition for it. You don't say. It seemed my face appeared a bit sullen. Then, here, Keiichi-kun. These are the mochi Mii-chan's grandma made. Rena held out the package wrapped in newspaper. There might be about 5 in there. It was quite hefty. Ah, thanks. Send my regards to your grandma, Mio. Yep. Ah, there's one that I made in there as well. Wonder if Keiichi-kun can guess which one. This is Kei-chan's homework since he missed the club meeting today. There are letters on each mochi, so I'll ask you tomorrow. Were you just checking if I was feeling better, or did you just come here for club activities? Yep, looking fine. Guess you'll be able to make it tomorrow. Man, what are you going to do if my fever comes back because of your shenanigans? Mii-chan, we shouldn't be making such a racket. Let's go. The other people here will get angry. Both of them thought my parents were home. It was because the entranceway was a mess. You're right, let's get going. Ah, by the way, Kei-chan. Yeah? What did you eat for lunch? The eyes. Yeah, I can see the color difference between the two now. I'm gonna leave it on this because Brandon's probably gonna change too. The sudden question startled me, and I went wide-eyed when I saw Neon. I had never seen her like that. It was a highly unsettling visage. Why? She asked him about what I ate for lunch. What she said was so inane, it was almost meaningless. The way she said it was almost like she didn't even care at all about what I ate. I ate out. She must have suspected that I was with Oishi-san. Anyway, I felt that if I hesitated or tried to change the subject, then they'd read too deep into it, so I tried answering as quickly as possible. Except, contrary to the efforts I had made, there was a pause before they replied. Yep, there goes Rena. So you ate out for lunch, Keiichi-kun? The glimmer from Rena's eyes had changed at some point as well. It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance behind her words even more. As if she already knew. That's how it looked to me. Well, was it good? Why are you asking me this? Mia was speaking in an unusually low tone, almost as if she knew that I had eaten at the restaurant in town. No, I'm overthinking this. I mean, both of them should have been at school at lunchtime. There was no way they could have known where I was. Seems you were with a rather austere-looking older guy. Who was he? Flop. The package with the mochi I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale. Oh? Keiichi-kun, who was he? Could it be the person from before, I wonder? I could feel the back of my throat going dry. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything? How do you know that? It took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking. Because there's nothing this old man doesn't know. Mion sneered knowingly, and her laugh seemed to carry on forever. So, Kei-chan, what did you talk about? It seemed like you got pretty worked up over it, too. We weren't talking about you guys. It didn't have anything to do with you or Rena. Isn't it a bit strange to hear our names come up even though nobody asked about that? Rena's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside. I dug my own grave. Too. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much it felt like it was going to explode. Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man already sees through it all. Remember that. I couldn't even shake my head. It took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly. Keiichi-kun, you don't look so good. I think you should lie down. That's true. We should both head back home. As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I had dropped the package of mochi. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was just about closed, it opened again slightly with a sudden creak, sending my heart racing once again. A single eye peered in through that narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again. See you, Kei-chan. Yeah. I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow, alright? Thud. The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle even after their low laughter died off in the distance, and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew what Oishi-san and I talked about? Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all of it could have been overheard. From the beginning when Oishi-san met me. Just as Mion said, I couldn't hide anything. Then, what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Oishi-san about one thing. They were warning me that that was unnecessary. What was it that Oishi-san talked to me about? The incidents involving Oishiro-sama's curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases, were connected as a whole, as well as the fact that there may be multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa. No, more precisely, that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. Is that what they were warning me against? What kind of nonsense am I thinking about? I hit my own face hard enough that it let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare. But for some reason it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. When did I become such a pessimist? Calm down, settle down, sort things out. The reason Mion knew I was eating lunch with Oishi-san was probably because somebody from Hinamizawa just happened to be there at the time. They must have told Mion that I was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? They were just curious since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had any ulterior motives. That's it. It has to be it. Thinking about it that way, it was the same with Rena. I was just being strangely ambiguous about when I met with Oishi-san, and Rena was just correcting me on that. That's why I was bewildered by the change in character from the usual mild-mannered Rena. I was just startled by it. It's the most natural way of thinking about it. It felt like my mind was mixed up, like a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara sauce would have poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. Thinking that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think that they're a good bunch of people. When I just moved here and couldn't make heads or tails of everything, they were really kind to me. Rena was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really pretty cute. Mion is also a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender, and was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. Talking about not getting bored, our rambunctious Satoko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent. They're my friends. But after hearing of the better untold secrets of Hinamizawa from Oishi-san and Tomitake-san, when I was told about Oyashiro-sama's curse, things started going crazy. Then hearing from Oishi-san that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. After that, everyone changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Oishi-san told me all that strange stuff. At that time, I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. I even shouldn't have heard about the past incidents from Tomitake-san the night of the Watanagashi. I just hadn't gotten that strange sense of curiosity. I just hadn't. That's right. So that's why they... Tomitake-san. That impudent outsider speaking to the likes of me after everybody went out their way to keep it a secret from me. They'll probably blame Oishi-san as well, for trying to unearth what everybody was warning me was better left buried. Besides that, it was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt the others. Of course a guy like that is going to be... Both Tomitake-san and Oishi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Hinamizawa. Those guys just fall to Oyashiro-sama's curse and just... beep. It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. 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 I settled into a daze. It was a lethargic feeling like I had just gotten up, but the ominous chill that haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I had completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow, right as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them, after all. That reminds me. I need to eat those mochi. I hope I'm able to tell which one Rena made. I remembered the homework the two brought with them when they visited me. Wow. Our club did delivery. That was something else. I picked up the package I had dropped on the floor and headed into the living room. It would be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, this was quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plump red bean paste mochi fit snugly inside. There were letters written from left to right on the newspaper. A, B, C, D, and E. Now then, the said random made one of these. I wonder which one. There wasn't much difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a very difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. I wasn't sure what kind of person Mion's grandma was, but Rena's had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one mochi that was made very neatly. So well that, just by staring at it, one could tell that it stood out. Looks like this challenge depends on whether or not this is Rena's. Calm down and think even harder. Mion had said her grandma made a ton of them, was told to give some out if I remember correctly. So that meant 4 of these were from that large batch. And what about Rena? She probably only made 1. So she probably spent quite a bit of time on it. Meaning, The one Rena had made was this one. Eek! For a moment I thought it may have been a trap. Mion laid, as she knew I'd pick up on it. That probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since she said Rena made it, it probably wasn't a trap. Alright, my tea is ready too. Let's start with the defending champ, Mion's grandma. Let's see. Not bad. The smooth bean paste and soft chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterwards also accentuated the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. Now, how about Rena's? The creation was so delicate, one would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion. Well, first, a bite. This was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, so there was little difference in flavor. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. So the deciding factors would be presentation and volume. Well-formed and well-sized champion versus Rena, the challenger, with a size you just couldn't get enough of. I had only had one bite of Rena's. I would probably have to wait until I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. Chew, chew. It seems my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached in with my fingers and grabbed it. What? What was this? Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. It slammed against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. Then, after sticking for a moment, it slid to the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Rena had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that performed such a vile act. Then I remembered what I had taken out of my mouth. At first I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Mion's, Rena's hair was still quite long. And it wasn't this short. It was also a bit too hard to be hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There was a bit of metallic sheen on one end of it. Ah yes, there was a hole for where a thread goes through, like it was a sewing needle. Yes, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well, quite sharply. It really did look just like a sewing needle. Huh? What did I mean looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago? I couldn't answer, but a voice inside me already knew, and let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly, I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my throat. I stuck my finger in the back of my mouth and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly, I felt the urge to vomit. The sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth. After writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was intensely throbbing. Then it finally registered exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. Splat, plop, splort. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. The geometrical patterns of the scattered bean jam on the wall suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out to the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, and frustration. Sadness and frustration. This wasn't a threat or a warning or a reminder. Nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What is happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Ren and Mion and the others, they consider me an enemy. And they thought, I should just die. I won't let you kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. Oh, sorry about that. Just a second. Oh, looks like it's changing. Thingy. Is this going to end the chapter? Hope not, so I can read that one line. It is. Alright, well, in a few seconds I'll try opening it and see that last line. Otherwise, maybe I'll try what's it called? Loading and zooming through. Let's see. Let's cut to the chase. Is there a drug that causes someone to kill themselves? Ah, it is there. Yep. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing, bottomless marsh. Not directly, no. It's quite a roundabout response. You're saying there's one that does it indirectly? Something that puts you into a suicidal mental state. Like that? It's hard to say. What would a suicidal mental state be? Like a person with a serious bipolar disorder. It's believed that people are more likely to attempt suicide when suffering from depression to mania. Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive depressed state accompanied by a very active manic state. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self-esteem and are quite pessimistic, but rarely commit suicide. They do not have the willpower to commit suicide, nor does mania on its own lead to suicide. That has an opposite effect, filling the person with confidence and making them feel as though they're walking on air. Thus, they do not commit suicide. That's interesting. Neither state causes suicide, but when the condition changes, they might do so. There's a desire to commit suicide when in a state of depression, but they do not have the willpower to commit such a formidable act. But when they enter mania, they gain a burst of willpower, and their body moves as they desire. I see, so it means they gain the willpower to commit suicide. That's how it goes. That's why patients are given sedatives during that time to keep them from acting on their impulses. Then was Tomitaki bipolar? People who suffer from bipolar disorder generally commit suicide by more civilized means, like say hanging or jumping off a building. Self-harm as going through withdrawal is completely different. Tomitaki-san's death wasn't civilized. So one would think it was caused by some foreign substance. As I said from the start, tell me of a drug that causes someone to commit suicide. There are reports that methamphetamine overdoses produce a condition that resembles bipolar disorder. It's a stimulant. Barbiturate overdoses are also reported to cause erratic behavior. That's a sleep aid. There were no signs of stimulants. Are there any other possibilities? All I can think of is that it's some sort of illness. Something like Graves' disease, which affects the thyroid, and is known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder. Graves' disease has many characteristic symptoms of its own. The disease exhibited none of them. I wonder, is there something that could happen more spontaneously? Something that fits this case and would cause someone to want to commit suicide all of a sudden? Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? In short, it's a condition where the brain is out of whack due to physical injury or illness. It can be caused by drugs, but it can also be caused by physical trauma, encephalitis, a stroke, or even tumors. Basically, even without a drug, one can succumb to an irregular mental state. The deceased was surrounded after being chased, and his life was in danger, right? All that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry. He could have hit his head, and those factors combined might have caused him to mutilate himself. It's a possibility. Could you explain it to me in simpler terms? Well, basically, he knocked his noggin in the brawl and it made him go haywire. No. Then his lady didn't have any intent to kill. Just smacked him in a bad place when he nicked some change. The two plump men laughed hoarsely. But of course, it's not like that. Undoubtedly. If it was habitual drug use, if it was something mental, the deceased's body holds the key. How are things on your end? Oh my goodness, look at the time. I need to get back soon or Kuma-chan will get angry with me. Yeah, good luck. Best wishes. Best wishes. Alright, so that wasn't Oshi at all. That's right. Herm? Those guys just now. They had national diet badges. and its prefectural assembly member and city councilor Sonozaki. That's interesting. The prefectural assembly member and city councilor are related. It's dirty is what it is. Shouting out each other's names during elections. While one is up for election, the other holds an assembly, and they double up their campaign activities blatantly. I don't know much about this stuff, but isn't that against the rules of the election? As long as they have no prior consultation, there are no restrictions on their political activities. Kuma-chan, the investigation division is going to be pretty tough for you. You should at least brush up on election policies. Not suited for the intelligence division, because I'm dumb. It was prefectural assembly member Sonozaki and city councilor Sonozaki. Also the mayor of Hinamizawa. All of them involved with the Sonozaki family. What crap. Looks like they were seen off by the department chief and the deputy chief. It came to me. Pressure. That night, when the chief invited me along to get some Oden, I thought that was it. Ah, that's what the picture was. You have a lot of connections, so you may have heard something. Did you? Nope, not a thing. Ma'am, I'll take a tofu fritter and fish cake. The counselor barked at me in the police chief's stead. Oh my, is that so? Ma'am, I'll take another bowl. Prefectural Assembly member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki were both intimidating. Our snot-nosed career police chief couldn't even handle being yelled at by them. They're like Yakuza. A petition with your name came up regarding how the investigation of the Hinamizawa incident is being handled. Goodness me! I'm not the faintest. No need to play dumb. You're reopening the past cases regarding Hinamizawa, aren't you? I've already got my hands full with Tomitake's death, actually. Really? If that's true, then there's no problem. There was a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drink. Ooh, that was quite the feast. This month has been a bunch of losses for me, so my wallet was feeling the pinch. Much appreciated. No, it's nothing. Tell me a good horse again. I'll bet on the same one as you. Nah, I haven't been doing well there lately. I haven't been able to read the horses at all. Taxi! I'm going by train. The police chief is taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it'd be rash to drive it home. Can't blow it right before retirement with a DUI. Even though he could still rattle off, it looked like his legs were already goo. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the police chief's address. Well, see you again tomorrow. Happy New Year. Oishi-san. Yeah. The past incidents have all been closed. Stop lumping them all together. Those villagers half believe it's really the curse. Well, I'm not convinced. You're going to be retiring next year, aren't you? Weren't you going to pay off your mortgage with your pension and move up to Hokkaido with your mom? Wait, with his mom? Mother pines to return to the land of her birth. It's the least I can do. And the pension, well, it'll let me enjoy myself in Susukino. Police chief may issue a special retirement salary raise, he says. Public servants' pension is calculated based on their monthly salary. So if you were to get a raise right before retirement, your bonus 2-year salary would be inflated, and you get a heavy surplus of funds. It tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, it's not a custom that's thought of highly. The difference between the bonus and the pension is quite a bit. I expect nothing less exemplary from our egghead chief, but, well, they say our salary is compensation for our hard work, but in the end, it really just has to do with the passage of time. It's not something I can laugh at, but I'll laugh through it anyway. I don't think it's anything exemplary. Given how hard you've worked, it's not odd that you're getting that much of a pension. I'd like to get that much myself. If I can get it, well, of course I'd want it. No, you'll get it. You're an adult after all. Sorry for holding you up here, driver. Thank you very much. I closed the door roughly, interrupting the chief's conversation a bit rudely. It looked like the chief still had something to say, but he just smiled wryly and waved. I waved in return. The cab sped up gradually, and soon disappeared among the sea of lights. Oh man, I wonder if I really can repay that loan. Wasn't much of a threat in there, but unless it was hinting that his pension was going to go. We'll stop here for today and probably finish it next week. Tap. End of chapter 9. Tap, tap. Right. You'll have a good weekend. I will see you on Tuesday with more Batman Arkham Knight. Probably the DLC.